and I had to travel a long distance to a very different place. Imagine coming to live here on Skellig Michael, rowing 12 kilometers from the Kerry coast and arriving with virtually nothing. Now imagine it's the 6th century and you still had your house to build from blocks of stone. Rising over 700 feet above the Atlantic Ocean, this is one of the most dramatic monuments to early Christianity in Western Europe.
But for brave monks, Skellig Michael was not the edge, it was the centre, the very hub of God's universe, surrounded by an immense churning force of nature. And these monks weren't making wine or beer or making money from their entrepreneurial skills, because this is one of the earliest Christian foundations in Ireland, begun between the 6th and 8th centuries, long before the church had begun to accumulate wealth and power.
Those who came here would have brought very little. Some earth in their small hide boats, enough for a garden and for their own graves. It's estimated that no more than 12 monks and an abbot lived here at any one time. So what brought them here, to this rocky outcrop in the roaring Atlantic? 1200 years ago, it wasn't just Irish monks seeking isolation on an island. As far away as Egypt and Syria, holy men sought silence in the desert. But could the Irish monks have been running away from something else?
It's hard to believe, but these monks could have been running from women. Now we know from St. Kevin of Glendalough that he had to flee his hermitage across the lake to get away from his admirers. So it's not unreasonable to presume that these saints were quite desirable. We know they were charismatic, that they were intelligent, and that they could do this extraordinary thing called sing in plain song, in other words, chant in harmony. So it's not that facetious to suggest that they were as attractive as an early boy band.
But most refused to be tempted. St. Columbanus was so determined to stay celibate, he used to beat himself to keep his mind off the pleasures of the flesh. The monks believed that such harsh punishments allowed them to master their bodies and desires and to reach a state of spiritual ecstasy.
The monks here in Skellig Michael built their monastery on the very top of the island to get as close to their God as the physical environment made possible. And it's only when you actually do it, when you actually climb up here, that you get that sense of a fusion with the divine. And it was in places like this that Christian thought developed into the notion that prayer could transcend time and space and link persons separated by great distances and form an emotional bond between kin and community, separated by the great sea of death itself.